Great. All right. So everyone, welcome to our May Northeast Ohio Quantum Meetup. This meeting is being recorded. We had a crowd release that we was just posted, just for that information. Um, Today, for our format, we are going to have a 20 to 30-minute presentation that Cleveland Clinic is going to be presenting. Following the presentation, we are going to do a 30-minute Q&A. So make sure you ask your questions. Feel free to add those questions to the chat, and we can moderate it as it goes. But you can also just come off mute and start speaking. For the announcements for the meetup in general, we are planning a fall 2022 meetup. More details to come there. We will be posting a survey link in the chat. Please, answer the forum. It's just a quick 2-minute forum. Just understanding who you guys are. What your level of quantum is, your quantum interests, etc. We typically do a quantum 101 at the beginning of every single meetup. However, we are not doing it this time, but you can access all of our previous meetups at this YouTube link, which we will also post in the chat. With that meetup link, or with that YouTube link, you will find the Quantum 101, which will be living there. So today, the Cleveland Clinic is going to talk about their partnership with IBM and the Discovery Accelerator. Speakers, Dr. Lara Jehi, Dr. Blankenberg, and Brandon Musarra. And the agenda for the presentation will be the overview of the Cleveland Clinic IBM Discovery Accelerator, benchmarking quantum first classical activity, building a quantum hub in Cleveland through the quantum system 1 deployment. And then we're going to have an open discussion afterwards with questions for the clinic to answer. So Brandon, if you would like to share your screen now, we can jump right into the presentation and get it going.
Perfect. Thanks, Joe. All right, everyone can see my screen. So thanks so much for having us. My name is Brandon, and I'm privileged to be joined by Dr. Lara Jehi, Dr. Dan Blankenberg. We're from the Cleveland Clinic. We understand that, was it last summer perhaps, IBM experts actually spoke to the same group. And so we're looking forward to continuing to partner with them and rotate this through this group and really network with some super users in quantum like yourself. So quick overviews here. Dr. Lara Jehi is our Chief Research Information Officer. She's also a staff physician in the Neurological Institute, and she is the executive lead of the partnership. And she's actually joined, nice to see you, Ruri, by Dr. Ruri Zhao, her counterpart from IBM. And so happy to leverage her during the Q&A. You'll also be hearing from Dr. Dan Blankenberg. He's assistant staff in what's called our Genomic Medicine Institute, and he leads the quantum working group. We're going to be going over all the different working groups and facets of our partnership and the way we're structured. And then yours truly, I'm more of the project management, strategy, and day-to-day operations. So looking forward to speaking with you this evening. So we'd be remiss if we didn't start out, why IBM and the Cleveland Clinic, why a discovery accelerator? And we'll get into what defines a discovery accelerator in a second here. But Cleveland Clinic mission is caring for life, researching for health, and educating those who serve. And then all the while, we hope to be the best place for care anywhere and the best place to work. And so when you think about the convergence of big tech and healthcare, when you bring those two big brands together, only good things can happen. And so when you hear from us today, it's really intentional that we did this partnership to continue caring for life, to be, the top 5 hospital in the world. We do this to research for health and continue to find the next therapeutics so that we can continue to sustain all the great work we already have. And then lastly, educating. So we hope that you join us in educating the workforce of the future. And so there's 2 powerful quotes. When you saw our press release last March, actually, so March of 2021, we told the world that we've entered into a 10-year strategic relationship. And here on the left, you'll see our CEO, Dr. Tom Mahalovic. And when you think about the digital infrastructure that's needed to just keep the lights on in healthcare, that's one thing. But when you talk about the infrastructure to help transform medicine, that's a whole nother animal. And so, we continue to leverage IBM to build that infrastructure, to train the workforce of the future, and then them as one of the primary partners as part of growing our economy. And you'll hear about the Cleveland Innovation District and some of the other regional initiatives we have going on. Same thing with Arvind. With Arvind Krishna, the CEO of IBM, I thought this was very powerful when you combine the world-renowned expertise in healthcare with the next generation technologies that IBM can offer, then you can only hope that we can start to discover faster. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Jehi, and she's going to walk us through what accelerated discovery means to us, what it is, and what our mission is. So over to you, Lara.
Thank you, Brandon, and thank you all for making time for us at the end of a Monday. I am really looking forward to the question and answer discussion at the end. So what is accelerated discovery? It is a need at this point for us, particularly in life sciences and in healthcare. The premise that pushed us to investigate and explore a partnership with a big technology leader was this. In life sciences, right now, it takes on average about 17 years between the time when a scientific discovery is made in a lab to the point when that discovery is translated into an actual drug, device, therapy, something that you or your loved ones can use to treat a disease. This delay is multifactorial. Of course, it is not just all due to challenges with technology, but technology plays a big part in helping us accelerate these discoveries and get to them sooner, faster, better. Our partnership with IBM Research is tasked to do just that, to help us accelerate this pace. There is a very informative video that you could get to if you get to the QR code up on top and watch it. It was just released by IBM Research, and it talks about the importance of accelerating discovery in the bigger context, so beyond healthcare, in the face of all of the societal challenges that we face. Our particular interest in Cleveland Clinic, given our mission that Brandon has shared with you, is squarely in the healthcare life sciences space. So that was our motivation to go in. Next slide. And this is the mission of our strategic partnership. It is organized around pillars that we felt were all important to help us accomplish this larger goal of accelerating discovery. Our partnership with IBM Research followed on the heels of another larger agreement with the state of Ohio, which some of you may have heard about, which is the Cleveland Innovation District. We will come back to that also towards the end, and Brandon will share some information about it. But in essence, it's a $500 million co-investment between Cleveland Clinic, the state of Ohio, and Jobs Ohio to innovate in Cleveland. So how do we innovate? How are we planning to do that with IBM Research? We're doing that around these 5 pillars that you see. The first one being partnership. So we know that even though both of our organizations are established large organizations, changing the landscape and accelerating discovery, creating new things at the scale that we both want to do, we cannot do on our own. So we are always looking for new partners to work with us across healthcare, academia, industry, and government to propel us all forward. Enablement is a second pillar. This is a pillar where we are working with IBM Research to help us build infrastructure, basically the piping, the platforms, the digital capabilities that will allow us to do research. Discovery is what we are all there for. So our teams are organized around the research priorities that we want to tackle. From the beginning of the partnership, we organized ourselves, and by ourselves, I mean Cleveland Clinic and IBM researchers, around 3 research pillars. The one being high-performance computing, the second one being artificial intelligence, and the third one being quantum computing. Those research teams have been meeting very regularly. They've been working through challenges, research ideas, projects that they work towards aligning on. And then we support those projects through the infrastructure of the partnership. And the idea from this work is that through accelerating this interaction between the life science researchers and the data scientists, engineers that IBM offers, that exchange of ideas, that flow of ideas would happen faster, better, and we would get to better discoveries. There is an education pillar, as you see there, and this education is really key for us because as we think about a future where quantum computing is going to become integrated in our life, we need to know how to use it, and we need people who know how to implement all of this technology, whether it's AI or whether it's quantum. So a big pillar in our partnership is together creating educational material that can help and programs that can help support this new pipeline that we want to create with the workforce of the future. Promote the last pillar. Well, this is what we're doing right now. We are talking to you and we are spreading the word about what we're doing with this partnership. It's really important because unless people know about something, they can't really engage with it. And ultimately, that's what we want, to engage the whole community so we can all work together. Next slide. This shows you examples of priority research areas that we've that these 3 work streams that I mentioned have been working on. So with the high performance computing working streams, we've started by just the basics, addressing our immediate storage needs and data needs. But then we're working so that together we can figure out how to accelerate analytics and how to figure out what would be the ideal value proposition for hybrid cloud. What should go on the cloud? What should stay on-prem? How can we create a workflow, a platform that would allow us all to be more efficient at what we do? The second work stream, through artificial intelligence, they have many projects that are either ongoing already or that are being planned. Things that vary from creating digital twins for certain diseases of interest, work on drug discovery. Drug discovery is actually dual. So there is a team working on drug repurposing. So that's the discipline where you look at drugs that are already on the market, FDA approved for certain indications, but you want to see if they could be used for other indications also, making them and available now. That's a good way of skipping those 17 years that I mentioned earlier. And then the second aspect of drug discovery is how do we actually create new drugs? That requires a lot of modeling and of course, computational biology. That's just the pillar of any computational life sciences program. With quantum computing, you will hear a lot more about that from Dan, who is leading that particular work stream. But general ideas for applications that we've looked at include this edge detection, image matching, or clinical trial optimization, or work that is towards precision medicine. Next slide. The way we get these projects through our partnership, they start as ideas, discussions in these work streams. Then after that, when they mature to the point of being actual proposals, so really fleshed out, what are those people wanting to do? How will they do it? Do they have the data? How are we working through all the details of the project? Then they get brought to a joint steering committee with members from both IBM and the Cleveland Clinic. And that joint steering committee reviews all of those projects. And the ones that are ready for implementation, those are the ones that we approve through individual statements of work. What you see here is exactly what is going on right now. So the underway, those are projects that are now ongoing since the agreement with IBM Research was signed in December, and then planned, those are in the pipeline. And you see with quantum, we have quite a few that Dan is going to walk you over. And you see that they vary from actual research, so that's the DARPA benchmarking proposal, for example, to education. So we have an enablement series that is upskilling 15 team members from the Cleveland Clinic on quantum. That's ongoing to engage as many of our researchers who are interested in this space as possible. And you see AI projects, etc. And there is another one that is planned on drug discovery that includes quantum. Next slide. This is going to be my last slide. See, I got all the fun ones with the links up on top with the QR codes that you could go and watch. If you are feeling down one day, I would encourage you to watch this one. This is a news story that ran on Channel 5. It was a pretty uplifting day for everybody who was involved. It's a reflection of the effort that we have around education. I mean, we're doing a lot around education that is just, what you would classically see, like I mentioned, these seminars and the courses and all that. But what happened in February is we heard about this very special young man, Musa. He's a high schooler who is now at the Metropolitan School District. He's only 16, and he is interested in quantum. He went on his own and signed up for quantum courses. And he was highlighted in that news story in February as an example of hard work, dedication, and energy in our young generation that we would want to support. So he comes from an immigrant background, very humble family. He walks to school 3 miles every day in Cleveland weather. And they had, they talked with his teachers and all that. And then at the end, the news reporter said, he said that he wants to work with the Cleveland Clinic and IBM Quantum. And, something like, she hopes he does that, something to that effect. So then when we saw the story, we were also, we fell in love with the kid. He's so energetic, so, motivated. At the time when we heard it, so February, remember that agreement with IBM Research was just signed in December. So we were just a couple of months into our partnership, but we knew that we had to help him. So we worked together, Cleveland Clinic and IBM Research, and we put together a 6-week internship, summer internship for him, where he would rotate. 2 weeks would be through all of the different work streams that we have. 2 weeks, particularly in the quantum, to work in Dan's lab on this quantum benchmarking project that we have ongoing. And then the last 2 weeks, he would shadow our IT department. And then we surprised him with all of that. We went to his classroom and basically informed him that he got the internship. And you could just imagine how happy he was. Now, this is a feel-good story, but we want to, it shouldn't take getting on the news to access what we are creating and what we are building. Our goal is to make this available and to help people use it. So right now, because of him, there is a lot of energy conversations with the school district to replicate and create a pipeline where we have this internship that is, where more students could go in. The teacher told us actually that day that we were there, they had 15 students sign up for that quantum course. The year before, when Musa did it, they only had 3. So kids were excited. But anyway, so that's our story with education, quantum education with him. Next slide. I'll turn it over now to Dan, who will bring our whole vision experience so far with quantum to life with you and share some information. Dan?
Great, thanks, Lara. Yeah, it's a really amazing story about Musa. I'm really looking forward to working with him. I won't talk about what my interests were when I was 16, but they're certainly not based around quantum computing. So I'm sure he'll be able to teach me a lot of things as well. So I just want to start off by talking a bit about a hypothetical of patient encounter that can occur hopefully sometime in the near future. And so here we have Miss Jones. She's at her annual follow-up for cancer screening. 20 years ago, she had tissue-sparing breast cancer surgery. And then since then, for 20 years, she's remained cancer-free. Unfortunately, today she goes to the high-speed imaging center and meets with her physician. And 20 minutes after the scan, which is an incredibly quick amount of time, Dr. Doe brings up the results of the imaging from that health record. And the quantum enhanced imaging software has unfortunately identified a 1/10 millimeter square cluster of cancer cells located near her original surgery site. And so immediately, Ms. Jones is scheduled for high precision radiation treatment the following week. A quantum computer would actually be used to plan this radiation therapy, and that enables the cancer cells to be destroyed with extreme precision. And this actually spares all of the surrounding tissue. Obviously, this is a vision for the future. We're not quite there yet. Quantum computing is still very much in its infancy, but this is where we want to be going, where we want to go. So, enhancing patient care, enhancing technology, and really driving the next generation of healthcare based around quantum computing. Next slide, please. So here's one example where we're working with IBM in order to advance some basic research needs. And so this is a really nice early win that we have with IBM. So we have a DARPA grant to sort of build up benchmarking applications. And so, quantum computing is, like I just said, is very much in its infancy. And so we're still trying to determine what problems might actually have a quantum advantage available to it. And so as we're trying to to find use for this new technology, we want to develop application-specific uses. And so in association with IBM, we're looking at applications in protein folding, IMRT or VMAT, so those are imaging applications, clinical trial process optimization, along with de novo genome assembly. Now that's just as part of this one opportunity that we have ongoing. We're also exploring additional prioritized domains with IBM in association with the Discovery Accelerator. So for diagnostics, such as edge detection and image matching, computer-aided drug discovery, like I said before, clinical trial optimization, precision medicine, and population health management. Next slide, please. So this is IBM's technology roadmap. This has a clear vision for how we're going to get to the inflection point of 1,000 qubits over the next 3 years. And so, you know, this inflection point of 1,000 qubits is you know, it's this one point where we think that we'll be able to actually start doing things that are relatively useful. But IBM's goal is not just to create a 1,000 qubit machine that's useful for a relatively small number of quantum experts. They want to make it useful for the vast majority of, you know, the millions of regular professional developers, software developers on the planet today. And so to do this, they're not only increasing qubits over time, but also developing software infrastructure in their Qiskit runtime that's seamlessly integrated with their hardware. And they're also building different application modules for natural sciences, optimization, machine learning, and so forth, so that it's easier for users to run their code. And IBM is also focused on developing additional capabilities such as dynamic circuits, increased parallelization, and improved accuracy through scalable error mitigation. And so along these lines, IBM and the clinic are actively working together so that we can gain the technical skills and broad education in quantum computing to develop healthcare and life science use cases that will benefit from quantum computers. And at the Cleveland Clinic, we currently have access to more than 20 quantum computers on the cloud, on IBM's cloud, and we will have a dedicated System 1 installed on Cleveland Clinic premises in early 2023. Next slide, please. And so I'm super excited to report that construction is underway at the Lerner Research Institute on Cleveland Clinic main campus. You can see the LRI, the Lerner Research Institute, in the bottom left-hand side there. That's a nice, beautiful picture of the outside of the building. This will be the first 127 qubit deployment with the Eagle quantum processor at a site outside of IBM's data center in New York. And in the bottom right-hand image, you can actually see the location where the System 1 is being installed. So that's the LRI Commons. So that's basically like a little cafe area. I did hear an earlier rumor that maybe we were getting a Starbucks kiosk built in this space, which I have to admit would be pretty nice. But I think a quantum computer is way better. Next slide, please. So I've spent a bit of time talking about the quantum aspects of the Discovery Accelerator, but quantum is obviously only a small part of what we are trying to accomplish. We want to transform Cleveland into a fully sustainable technology-enabled hub for innovation. We're interested in collaborating and partnering with other institutions and entities in the area to leverage our access to quantum computers, access and expertise in machine learning and AI technologies, to educate and train the workforce of the future, and to build and develop new technologies. We're interested in identifying both industry partners and potential collaborative grant-based opportunities. Next slide.
And then Dr. Jehi, do you want to give a quick update on what we have brewing with the NSF real quick, the National Science Foundation?
You're on mute.
Yes, I almost went through the day with nobody telling me that. So yes, this is an opportunity that was just recently announced by the National Science Foundation, and it's one that is meant to build partnerships and relationships in a region to advance the whole region and propel it forward. The goal is to build regional innovation engines that a conglomerate basically of different entities that are wanting to work together with partnerships from academia, industry, a big part of it is industry, and government, local government, across different areas of research and education. Every region is asked to build on its strengths and build on its ongoing investments to expand into an engine that could transform a larger geographical area. From what we shared with you earlier, it's clear that Cleveland Clinic and its partners have significant investments from each institution, but also from the state into creating this Cleveland Innovation District. So we are, we believe, very well poised to be competitive for this opportunity where we would work with partners in Cleveland and outside of Cleveland to all build this capacity for all of us. We are, we spent last week considering the opportunity at the clinic, and then this week we are reaching out to different partners, key partners for us that we're going to be working with. Some of whom, haven't yet heard, but we're definitely thinking of engaging everybody who's around us. And if any one of you on this call is part of an organization that is willing to work with others on creating this for Ohio, for Cleveland and beyond, please reach out to us and we will be happy to talk with you and coordinate. Next slide.
Wonderful. Thanks, Laura.
And this is how you would reach out. Brendan.
Yes. So really, that's our call to action to you, Quantum Meetup Group. So we look forward to some synchronous discussion now. And this is how you would get a hold of us. We have a relatively new Center for Computational Life Sciences. And so the email address is up there. I'll be sure that Austin and Joe have that contact information afterwards. And then if you'd like to stay engaged with what we're up to, on June 21st, we are actually hosting the CEO of IBM, Arvind Krishna, and Dr. Mahalovic will actually be presenting the Ideas for Tomorrow series. It's an hour where Dr. Mahalovic, as CEO for the Cleveland Clinic, gets to pick the brain of fellow CEOs in many industries. And we're happy to report that this next one and first one we're actually bringing back since the pandemic is going to be Arvind. So you can stream it there and you can register at that link. So with that, I will close us out, but please just remember as we get into discussion here that the Discovery Accelerator is a shared resource within the community. We look forward to partnering and we look forward to some unique use cases that hopefully you and your respective industries can bring. So I will give it back over to you, Joe and Austin.
Great. Thank you guys for presenting. And now we're going to turn into the Q&A section. So please answer or ask some questions for the Cleveland Clinic team to answer. You can do it in the chat or just take yourself off mute and ask away.
I will. I'll actually add one right now because we do have somebody who asked a question in the chat while everyone else is thinking about this. So one of our guests asked, can you speak to population health management, and are there any examples how quantum computing can help in population health?
Yeah, I think the questions are all still out to be asked. The thing with quantum and just general life sciences related research is that I mean, if anybody says that they really know how to apply quantum to life sciences and they have the answers already, I wouldn't believe them. The excitement in it right now is that we just don't know the answers. But this is the time to ask the questions and look at them. Of the projects that we have ongoing, as you saw, I mean, we shared everything with you. We don't have one that is going on now that is focused on populations health management, but populations health is one of the 6 pillars that we have in our Center for Global Pathogens Research and Human Health, which is what's, the entity that is supported by the Innovation District partnership. And I know the team there is looking to see how they could take advantage of the quantum computer capabilities and how they could apply it. The closest thing that we have going on to that, we're dipping our slowly into this. One of the projects that we have is looking at data from few 100,000 patients from the electronic health record and looking to build predictive models that can look at cardiac complications after surgery. So we wanted to see first whether we can handle that volume of data and build these predictive models with the quantum before a next step, which would be taking similar questions to the populations level. Dan, you're much more involved in that space.
So I think you're absolutely correct. So it is still very early days. We're trying to figure out good applications. Potential good possibilities are, for example, where we have sort of smaller populations that we might have large numbers of features, and we can sort of leverage quantum-enabled machine learning approaches to sort of try to build better models where classically, for any machine learning approach, you need to have very large populations, very large numbers of samples and so forth. And so I think that's certainly one exciting area. Any other area where, for example, modeling is currently not very effective would also be a great place to sort of focus. But population health is not my background as well, but in general, I think those are the places where quantum computing can really sort of excel at this point, right? Obviously as the hardware advances, technology advances, what we'll be able to do and make use of is going to be much greater. But I sort of like to think of this as the opposite of what happened with GPU enabled programming, where basically this hardware existed for a very long time before most scientists, especially in the life sciences, were able to make use of these really powerful technologies, that really powerful hardware. Where with quantum, we have this opportunity to sort of build up the workforce and the knowledge in lockstep with the enhancements and abilities of the hardware itself. So I think we have a really, really great opportunity here. It's not going to be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. And so I'm really excited to sort of, be on the ground floor, I think, of this technology as it's coming to fruition.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting. That's a really good question, and I wonder if that's one of those things where like there's crossover between, like an area like customer segmentation that's a very, company way of viewing a problem like that, and maybe that's something that could be shared. If some of us gain an advancement in one way, we can maybe take those kind of problems and translate them differently. I want to move on to another question here because we got a few coming in the chat. So another question we have from Harold is, with respect to quantum computing and reuse of drugs and drug discovery, are you looking at commonality of molecules, atoms, ions, etc., and patterns that lead to currently effective drugs?
Yes. I mean, yes. So we're looking at all of that.
All the above.
All of the above.
I think maybe a tie into that, I saw another question that has, do you see crossover opportunities to apply research in quantum chemistry to other industries? Because I know we have some members from Sherwin-Williams here, and I know that's something for, you know, anyone who's working in the chemical space. That's going to be, you know, a very interesting aspect.
Yes, for sure. I saw this question, and I was very happy to see it. Of course, see the opportunity goes beyond our specific interest, because as you mentioned, Austin, a lot of those problems, in principle, can be shared across disciplines, and you solve them for one set of problems, you do end up solving them for others. And developing drugs for medical applications, at least at the basic, the initial part of it is very similar to how you would solve chemistry problems in general. The difference is for that chemical compound to make it into a drug, the difference is in all the subsequent steps of preclinical studies. How do you test it in tissues? How do you test it in animals? How do you then get it to people? But at the very early stages there is a new chemical compound that you are wanting to create and test in the lab, in chemical reactions, then those are very similar problems. And of course, there will be crossover to other industries.
Thank you. Okay, another question I have in here, and actually this is going to be, I think, a good one for some of our more hands-on people. I have a Pathakruth says, I'm in Cleveland and have some amount of hands-on experience with Qiskit and finance, along with physics and computer education. Is there any way for me to learn / contribute somehow to the quantum computer work at Cleveland Clinic? Are there ways that members of the community can get involved in ongoing projects right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are working through creating the framework for how this could happen. We cannot go, spread outside until we are strong inside. That's why we are starting now with this enablement series that we mentioned, by educating our teams that are involved in the ongoing grants that we committed to, like this benchmarking grant with DARPA. But the educational material that we are creating, we are piloting it internally with the idea that it would have applications to the outside world too. How does the talent that is in the city get access to the quantum computer and collaborate on either ongoing projects or use it for their own projects? We are working now to create the administrative infrastructure that will allow us to do that, so that we can do exactly what this audience member is asking for. We definitely want this quantum to be accessible to others. We just want to do it in a way that is fair, and that will give these end users a positive, beneficial experience. The system right now, we have access to IBM's System 1 computers. We expect that the 127 qubit will be installed by January, February, early, first quarter of next year. And then a few years after that, we're looking at the System 2 to come. So right now we are in this building stage of creating the teams and framing what those partnerships would look like.
So if somebody today, right now, wanted to engage on a project, one of the better ways would be if they don't already have, if they're not already connected to, a company or organization that is going to connect with, through you guys, would it make sense for them to contact you guys at the Computational Life?
Yes, exactly. So send us this email, and if there is an ongoing you saw that we have some ongoing projects with quantum. If engaging with one of those makes sense, then we will work towards that. But there are many other ideas. If something is just an idea, we're not going to put it here. But depending on what this potential collaborator is interested in doing, we can have a conversation, connect them with people on our team who may want to work with them, and we will, and then we will get that project done. So that's how all these projects came. They were initially an idea in somebody's mind, and they brought it forward, and we got the teams together. So if we weren't wanting to work with people, we wouldn't be here now, presenting with you. So please, if anybody wants to collaborate, wants to work with us on this, just reach out and we will work with you.
Okay, and maybe that might be something, exciting to see if there's ways that the community can build like an easier kind of network to connect people to the projects that are out there, and get the the right people in the right places. I've got a couple questions I didn't get to in the chat yet, but I saw someone had their hand raised. Let me see.
So somebody asked how to connect with me or Dan. You see this email that's on the slide now, the computational life science at ccf.org. Just email us there. This email is for our center, so it will come to us. Yeah,
and Joe actually just repasted it in the chat.
Yes.
You guys.
Okay.
Let's see. I think it was King, maybe, if I'm saying your name correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, thanks, Austin. So, my name is Qiang Guan. I'm an assistant professor from computer science department at Kent State University. So, I have a pretty big research team in this quantum computing area. So, we got a bunch of research work on the quantum machine learning, a bunch of work on analyzing the quantum computers, the quality of the quantum computers, and also the error mitigation solution. So I think that this could be a good opportunity, like, from this local outreach and collaboration kind of thing, because for a long time, from this education perspective, right? So I teach the students from different backgrounds, computer science, mathematics, physics, about this quantum programming, Qiskit stuff. But I do find that, we don't really have a good training program, right? So to help to build the students' basic skill sets for, the future workforce, so they can be working at your institute and working on some solution, right? So I do feel like, this could be a good opportunity. But at the same time, I'm wondering that if you have some some plan for building some training program, like internship, because I do have a lot of students working with me, graduate, undergraduates, different levels. So they were thinking about, this could be their future, right? So from computer science or mathematics or physics. But they cannot see a good future about this, right? So because you see, like, okay, so you can become a software engineer, and then you can easily, know what's going to be your future career path, right? So they can try to do the internship or something. But for here, the quantum computing, we don't have the real problem. We can train the student, right? So they didn't say like how I can change the world, right? So with this new stuff, right? So I'm just wondering that, probably maybe kind of a suggestion, right? So we can work together, but we are local, right? So easy to collaborate and communicate. So can build up some internship program. So I think Laura, I think you mentioned that it's a good point that you can help us to connect to the researchers who has the problem but looking for someone to help them to write some cascade solution, right? So to use this facility, right? I think this could be like a kind of good activity that we can plan locally for this future.
Yeah, this is all music to my ears. You have no idea. We've had conversations with our some of our local academic leading institutions in Cleveland, and they we really value this particular aspect of what this partnership can bring, this quantum computer can bring, which is this opportunity for us to build education all across. Like if what we wanted was, okay, we have a machine and then we, all we provide is just access to it. But then people use it and that's not really what we want. That's not why we made this investment. We made this investment so that we partner with folks who have questions in life sciences or related disciplines that would benefit from quantum computing, so that our researchers, our teams work with these partnering institutions so that together we can advance. And education is one of those opportunities where there is definitely a lot of talent. We are a healthcare system, Cleveland Clinic. We are a hospital. We provide medical care. We are not engineers. There are many institutions around us who are leaders in engineering. And we can learn so much from them, like we could learn so much from you too. So we have a very active medical school that requires research as part of its curriculum. In our medical school, all the students do 1 year that is purely research. And that year can be, is typically done on, some life sciences related research. So when I've had conversations with our academic partners in the city, one idea that we were pitching is actually what you're just saying, is that we could pair the students from the engineering programs with our medical school students so that together they can work on projects. This is more than just a summer internship. This could be a whole year worth of research that they could do together. For internships, we did this summer internship for this high schooler. Just, we made it happen because we wanted him to have it. So we can, we definitely are working on our roadmap to create similar opportunities for higher scale, trainees. So engineering students and others. And this might be exactly what we could partner on with academic institutions for this National Science Foundation application, the Regional Innovation Engine. That might be a great way to get engineers to see the future, see the path, right? How they can change the world, as you put it. It's definitely exciting.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for your answer. So yeah, I will send you an email and
yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your question. And yeah, I think just commenting on that, that's I think that will definitely be very exciting to see how, just like the models for educating and getting that training through the Discovery Accelerator. I think those will all be really exciting. I think from a company perspective also, it would also be one of those things that, as you may not have, companies may not have the bandwidth to, if they don't have the bandwidth to directly invest, they could still have opportunities to, potentially train people up or, investigate, and then as that early step into adopting and maybe, taking on a larger partnership role.
Sure.
One of the questions in the chat that I don't want to miss is from Mark Thomas, and I think this kind of goes to
Yes,
why
I saw
Cleveland,
that
why
one.
now? Yeah, which is, what advantages do you hope to gain from having a quantum computer physically located at Cleveland Clinic beyond what you could gain from accessing remotely?
Yeah, so I hope Mark Thomas is still on the line because the answer is we wouldn't be having any of those conversations about training, upskilling a workforce, cross applications to other disciplines, partnering with entities that want to really dig deep into quantum. None of that would have happened if we were in the same line as everybody else in the world is, waiting to access quantum through the cloud. What we get with the computer physically being at the clinic is the investment in the people. It's really more about the people. It's not about the machine. It's that when we have the machine, a lot has to happen, and we are working through it now. God knows how complicated this is. And IBM Research has been just an amazing partner working with us through all of this to create the team, create the manpower that will together with them allow us to build the teams around the quantum.
There is I think that is definitely one of the exciting things, and I think that really resonates with us here at the with this quantum meetup. A lot of it, because of COVID and everything, a lot of this has been remote, but it's still there is that sense of, I think, just community and connection that comes with seeing who your neighbor is and seeing how you can work together to push forward. And I think just the funding that you mentioned earlier that you guys connect with Ohio also, that helps get those networks in place.
Mm-hmm.
To transition to another comment that someone had about just the nature of how to interact with the machines, mentioning how there's Qiskit finance, Qiskit optimization. You mentioned that it sounds like something like you'd have something like Qiskit healthcare, ways to interact with the machines. And maybe, I'm not sure if this a little too early right now, but could you guys speak to maybe like what does interacting with the machine, or the set of machines look like? Is that like at a gate level type technology, or are we talking more of packages that you interact with, or somewhere in between?
Dan, take that one, please.
Yeah, sure. So it's both, right? Obviously, IBM and the open source community around Qiskit have built up these pre-built packages, modules that have algorithms already implemented. But we are currently at the clinic learning how to work directly with gates and logic gates and directly with the technology at that level. But I think the ultimate end goal is to have a system where you interact with it just like you would any other Python package. I'll just use that because Qiskit is available in Python. It's so that if you want to get in the nitty gritty currently with Python, you can write packages in C and import them in Python, and you get all the benefits of that. You can do the same thing sort of with Qiskit, where you interact directly with logic gates, you program algorithms that way, but then you expose them to users through easy to use modules. I think so. So the answer is both, and we're getting training in both at the clinic currently. But it's still very early days. And for my, I have a pretty decent background in software development, and logic gates are sort of something I haven't looked at for a very long time. So it's very exciting, but also a huge challenge. But with huge challenges come great opportunities.
Thank you, Daniel. I just want to make a note. It is 7 o'clock, and that is our scheduled end time. At least I think there is one or two other questions in the chat. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time. If anyone needs to get going, just a reminder, it is 7 o'clock, but do you guys
That's
have
okay.
time to continue answering more questions, or should we move this off to, should they contact you right now through the computational life sci link?
We can go for another 5 minutes.
Okay. And actually, I'm going to put, while we do that, I'm going to put the survey in the chat again. And if you guys have any thoughts, you guys can put it in there. Okay. So one question we had was from Mindy from CASE. Collaborating to engage students here in Cleveland is an awesome investment. How do we ensure we're international about inclusivity, given we know diverse teams produce better results? So how do we engage outside of Cleveland as well with this, I think, is part of that question.
Well, that's a great question.
I'm sorry. The question was actually, how do we ensure we're intentional about inclusivity? So more to the regards of how do we make sure that, we're including more diversity in our efforts with the Discovery Accelerator and quantum in general in the community?
Well, we just have to be intentional about it, don't we? So the answer is in the question. And if Mindy, was it you said, who asked the question? Yeah. So if Mindy has specific ideas on how, I mean, we're listening. Mindy, what did you have in mind?
I don't necessarily have the answer, but, I'm just like scanning the audience, and fairness, it's based on looking at names, which are not always, an indicator, but we don't appear to be as gender diverse. I know 30 years ago, I was a computer science major, did some hardware, did some software, and I look at our student mix today, and we're not terribly more gender diverse than we were 30 years ago. So we're inching, but not step function. And this is so exciting. How do we make sure we reach out to SWE, to NSBE, to SHIP in terms of student organizations, or for partners, how do we make sure we make it known that this is an exciting, inclusive place and diversity is going to matter to our success?
Yeah.
Not for optics, literally, because the science shows that diverse teams outperform. So if we want to run, not walk, we need bright minds that are diverse. So that was my thought.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you got on that soapbox, because somebody has to, and it's a great point to make. I mean, I have to say that with us, at least as we were building our leadership structure around the Discovery Accelerator, we were very intentional about the diversity. See, you could see that the executive leads are me and Rui, right? On this, when we started, it was Anthony Annunziata on IBM's side. So, we were 50-50. Now it's me and Rui. But as we built every single, actually, structure that I think of it, our joint steering committee, our executive partnership board, all of that, we were thinking of diversity, not just with gender, but also with background, interest. See, by nature, our partnership is diverse because it is a partnership between healthcare and engineering, isn't it? Right. So that in and of itself brings diversity of perspective between the teams. The challenge is that there is a gap in the pipelines, like what you're saying. I can't solve the fact that there aren't more women in engineering schools, but I tell you that when I went to that classroom where Musa was, that high schooler, and I saw that his teacher was a woman, and she had on the wall, she had hanging a picture of Marie Curie, and she had a picture of Sheryl Sandberg. I mean, it was clear to me that she knew what she wanted to communicate, and there were just a couple of girls in the class. I went to her afterwards to just congratulate her on working with Musa and to tell her that I noticed. And next year I want girls in that summer program. But I mean, it's a really big issue. We have it in medicine too. I don't think it's as bad as it is in engineering though. And it just takes a village, takes people working together and being intentional. That's it, just thinking about it. If you think about it, you're more likely to do it.
You know, you raised an interesting point. It might be interesting to think about the physical space where the teams are going to collaborate, and are there examples of diversity in the history of computer science that brought us to this point, so that your physical space reflects the diversity as well. So that was an interesting observation. It's very cool.
I'm going to add, Mindy and Lara, I'm glad that you guys, discussed that, because I think that's something that we could also do with the quantum meetup as well, is maybe partner with some of these, these women in technology groups as well, and some of the other, diversity groups to help get the word out there and let them know, because how can you show up to something if you don't hear about it? So I think that's a great note there. I am going to add one last question because I didn't want to miss this person in the chat, and then we'll end it there. But Taryn asked, hello, I was wondering, will quantum cross with nanotechnology? You mentioned earlier cancer. Will this be a step in realigning DNA sequencing to correct the actual glitch that causes cancer?
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things. So early on, when we were looking at different potential applications, we have teams that are interested in quantum applications for genetic sequencing. So it is, that idea is still maturing though. So that's why you didn't see it as one of our statement of works that are ongoing right now. But yes.
Fantastic. All right. Well, it is almost 7:10 here. We've went a little bit over, but we had some great questions in the chat. Really appreciate, all the engagement from everyone. Thank you for, spending your Monday evening with us. And thank you to our presenters from Cleveland Clinic. Fantastic, and really excited to hear, everything that you guys are bringing to the region. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. And I want to thank our IBM partners who are with us on this call, Rui Zhao and Allison Botros. She is Brandon's, Allison is Brandon's counterpart, but we also have some of their scientists who are working with us. Joel, I see, is there, and earlier I saw John Smith, which is just a testament to how great of a partner they are. And thank you, Joe and Austin, for having us. This was a great opportunity for us to spread the word and to get those questions and hear what the community is thinking. And I also want to thank everyone on the audience who was patient with us and stayed on a Monday evening and spent an extra 10 minutes talking with us. Thank you all so much.
Yep, absolutely. And just as a reminder, this session has been recorded. We will be uploading it to YouTube, and we will, we'll get you guys the links in Meetup and in our other channels. And that way you guys can pass it on. We can get this message out to more people. So thank you so much.
Thank you.